For 30 years, creatine had exactly one reputation. It's what bodybuilders scoop into a shaker to get stronger in the gym. That's it. That story is now outdated. Some of the most interesting creatine research in the last few years has nothing to do with muscle at all. It's about your brain. Memory, mental fatigue, even how your brain holds up when you are running on no sleep. So today, what creatine actually does for cognitive function after 40. What's solid evidence versus hype, and what the research still can't tell us yet. Why the brain needs creatine. Quick refresher on what creatine actually is, because this matters for understanding the brain angle. Creatine, it's a natural compound your body makes and store mostly in muscle, but also in the brain. Its job is energy buffering. It helps regenerate ATP and molecule your cells burn for the fuel, especially when energy demand spikes. Muscle cells have high energy demand during exercise. Brain cells have high energy demand basically all the time. Thinking, focus, memory formation, all of it runs on ATP. So the logic behind creatine for the brain isn't some new marketing angle. It's the same underlying mechanism that make it useful for muscle applied to different tissues. What the actual research shows. Let's get into the evidence, because this is where I want to be careful. The supplement industry loves to overstate cognitive claims. A 2024 systematic review and meta-analysis in Frontier in Nutrition pulled 16 randomized controlled trials on creatine and cognitive function in adults. As results, we are generally mixed, and that's actually the honest, useful finding here. Creatine supplementation showed a real, statistically significant improvement in memory and in processing speed. But, and this matters, it did not show a significant improvement in overall cognitive function or executive function as a whole. So the effect appears real, but it's specific, not a blanket brain boost. Interestingly, the same review found the cognitive benefits were more pronounced in people with existing health condition. What in healthy adult, which tells you creatine may matters most when your brain's baseline energy status is already under some kind of strain. That under strain angle shows up again in completely different and honestly more striking line of research: creatine and sleep deprivation. A 2024 study out of in German, published in Scientific Reports, tested a single high dose of creatine in people who were kept awake overnight and given cognitive tasks to perform. The result: creatine measurably improved processing speed and short-term memory during sleep deprivation, with the effect peaking around 4 hours after the dose and lasting up to the 9 hours. Follow-up research in Nutrients in 2026 confirmed a dose-dependent version of the same effect using a lower single dose. Why does this happen? Sleep deprivation changes your brain's energy metabolism, and this is the interesting mechanistic detail. It actually appears to increase how much creatine your brain cells can take up in the stress state. Under normal, well-rest conditions, your brain is much stingier about absorbing supplemental creatine. It usually takes weeks of consistent daily intake to raise brain creatine levels meaningfully, specifically for aging brains. Now, the part that's most relevant to the after 40 framing. A recent systematic review focused especially on creatine and condition in older adults concluded that the current evidence suggested creatine may be associated with cognitive benefits in generally healthy older adults. But the researchers were clear that the evidence is still limited and higher quality trials are needed before this becomes a confident recommendation rather than a promises lead. There is also emerging interest in creatine for neurodegenerative conditions, particularly around energy metabolism deficits seen in Alzheimer's affect brains. This is still early stage. Creatine hasn't been tested as an actual preventative or treatment strategy in the context, but it's part of why researchers are taking their brain energy angle seriously rather than treating it as a stretch. Safety, because people still ask. Since we're talking about people 40 and older, the kidney question always comes up, so let's settle it directly. The standard maintenance dose used across the research, 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate daily, has been studied extensively in healthy adults, including reviews covering years of continuous use, and it does not impair kidney function. What confuses people is that creatine supplementation raises serum creatinine on blood test, and creatinine is the marker doctors normally use to check kidney function. But in this case, the elevation reflects increased creatine turnover, not actual kidney damage. If you have pre-existing kidney disease, that's a different conversation to have with your doctor. For healthy adults, this is one of the most studied, best safety profile supplements that exist. So here is the honest summary. Creatine's brain benefits are real, but specific. Memory and processing speed show generally improvement. Broad, smarter brain claims don't hold up in the data yet. The sleep deprivation research is some of the most compelling recent evidence, because it points to creatine actually helping most exactly when your brain is under real energy stress, which if you are over 40 and not sleeping like you used to is relevant more often than you would think. If you are already taking creatine for the gym, this is a case where the same tube in your cabinet is quality doing more than you probably realized. Like the video if this was useful, and subscribe if you want more of this evidence, no hype.